My name's Isabella, and I'm 21 years old. I just finished my third year at art college, and let me tell you, it's been one hell of a ride. But before I get into all that, you need to know where I come from. I grew up in a house where I never felt at home. My parents, Tom and Sarah, always made it clear that my older sister, Emily, was their golden child. She's 4 years older than me and has always been a thorn in my side. From the day I was born, Emily seemed to hate me. She'd tease me, break my toys, and make my life miserable. And my parents? They'd just laugh it off, saying, "Oh, that's just how sisters are." But it wasn't normal. I remember when I was 14, I had this huge crush on a boy at school. His name was Jake, and I thought he was the cutest thing ever. I'd spend hours drawing portraits of him in secret, hiding them under my mattress where I thought no one would find them. But Emily found them. And you know what she did? She pinned them up on the school bulletin board for everyone to see. I still remember walking into school that day. The laughter, the pointing, the whispers. It felt like the whole world was crashing down around me. And Jake? He came up to me, all awkward and stuttering. Isabella. I saw the drawings. Look, you're nice and all, but I don't like you that way. I ran home crying that day. My parents were in the kitchen when I burst through the door, tears streaming down my face. Mom, Dad, Emily humiliated me at school. She found my private drawings in. But before I could finish, Emily waltzed in, a smug grin on her face. "Oh, come on, Izzy," she said, using the nickname I hated. "It was just a bit of fun. Not my fault you can't take a joke." And you know what my parents did? They laughed. They actually laughed. "Sweetie," my mom said, wiping tears of mirth from her eyes, "you really need to toughen up. It's not Emily's fault you're such a crybaby." That's why, when I got accepted into art college, I was over the moon. It was my ticket out of that house, away from the constant mockery and belittlement. My grandmother was the only one who ever showed me any real love. She was the one who encouraged my art, who told me I had talent. When I got accepted, she insisted on paying for my tuition. "Isabella," she said, her eyes twinkling, "you've got a gift. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I'll make sure you get the education you deserve." For 3 years, she paid for everything. My tuition, my supplies, even some extra for living expenses. But then, just before my final year, she got sick. I remember sitting by her bedside, holding her frail hand. She looked at me with those kind eyes of hers and said, "Isabella, my dear, I'm so proud of you. You're going to do great things." Then she turned to my parents, who were standing at the foot of the bed. "Tom, Sarah, I need you to promise me something. Promise me you'll pay for Isabella's final year. She needs to finish her education." My parents nodded solemnly. "Of course, Mom," my dad said. "We promise." Grandma died a week later. At the reading of her will, we found out she'd left her house to my parents and her jewelry to Emily and me. Emily, of course, immediately grabbed the diamond tiara. "I'll take this," she announced. "Isabella can have the ring. She doesn't care about jewelry anyway, right, Izzy?" I didn't argue. She was right, I didn't care much for jewelry. So I took the diamond ring and put it in a safety deposit box at the bank. I made friends quickly in college. There was Zoe, a punk rocker with a talent for abstract art, and Marcus, a quiet guy who could make sculptures that took your breath away. They didn't care about my family drama. To them, I was just Isabella, the girl who could paint like nobody's business. "Hey, Bella," Zoe said one day, using the nickname I actually liked. "There's a tattoo parlor downtown looking for someone to draw designs. You should apply." I was hesitant at first. My parents would flip if they knew I was working in a tattoo parlor. But then I thought, why should I care what they think? So I applied, and to my surprise, I got the job. The owner, a burly guy named Mike with more ink than skin, took one look at my portfolio and said, you're hired, kid." For the first time in my life, I was earning my own money. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I didn't tell my parents or Emily about it. I could already hear Emily's mocking voice. "Oh, little Izzy's drawing pictures for thugs now? How cute." College life suited me. I threw myself into my studies, determined to make my grandmother proud. My professors praised my work, and I even won a few small competitions. But more importantly, I was happy. The years flew by, and before I knew it, I was finishing up my third year. As the summer break approached, a familiar dread settled in my stomach. I had to go home. I opened the door and stepped into chaos. The living room was full of people, all bustling about with excitement. In the center of it all stood Emily, beaming as she held up a white dress. My mother noticed me first. "Oh, Isabella," she said, her smile faltering slightly. "You're home. We weren't expecting you so soon." I stood there, stunned. "Emily's getting married? When did this happen?" Emily turned to me, her smile turning into a smirk. "Oh, didn't anyone tell you? I guess we've all been so busy with the preparations, it must have slipped our minds." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My own sister was getting married, and no one had even bothered to tell me. "Who's the lucky guy?" I managed to ask, trying to keep my voice steady. "This is Richard," Emily said, pulling forward a tall, handsome man I hadn't noticed before. "Isn't he dreamy?" Richard gave me a polite smile and extended his hand. "Nice to meet you, Isabella. I've heard so much about you." I shook his hand, wondering what exactly he'd heard. Knowing Emily, probably nothing good. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of excited chatter downstairs. Emily was holding court at the breakfast table, surrounded by our parents and a couple of her bridesmaids. As I listened to their conversation, I learned that Emily had broken up with her previous boyfriend at our parents' insistence. Apparently, he'd been mixed up with some dangerous crowd. "Thank God you listened to us, sweetie," Mom said, patting Emily's hand. "Richard is such a better match for you. And his family is so well off." I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Of course, that's what they cared about. "Speaking of Richard," Emily said, turning to me with a smirk, "he's taking me out to dinner tonight. Not that you'd know anything about that, right, Izzy? Still haven't found a boyfriend?" They all laughed, and I gripped my coffee mug tighter, willing myself not to cry. Some things never change. As the days passed, I tried to stay out of everyone's way. I spent most of my time in my room, sketching and counting down the days until I could leave. But one evening, I couldn't avoid the family dinner. We were all seated around the table when Emily dropped her bombshell. "I've decided to wear Grandma's tiara for the wedding," she announced. "It'll look perfect with my dress." "Oh, that's a wonderful idea," Mom exclaimed. Emily wasn't done. "But you know what would make it even better? If I had a matching piece to go with it. Like, oh, I don't know, a ring?" I froze, my fork halfway to my mouth. I knew exactly where this was going. Mom's eyes lit up. "Oh, that's right. Isabella, didn't Grandma leave you a ring?" I nodded slowly, a sick feeling growing in my stomach. "Well, there you go," Emily said, clapping her hands together. "Izzy, you'll let me borrow the ring for the wedding, won't you?" I put down my fork. "Borrow? For how long?" Emily laughed, a sound that sent chills down my spine. "Oh, silly Izzy. I mean, you'll give it to me. For keeps." But Grandma left that to me," I protested weakly. "Come on, Isabella," Dad said, his voice stern. "Don't be selfish. It's your sister's wedding day." I looked around the table, hoping to see someone, anyone, on my side. But all I saw were expectant faces, waiting for me to give in. Like always. "Isabella," Dad said, his voice cold. "Either you give the ring to your sister, or we won't pay for your final year of college." The room fell silent. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But But you promised Grandma, I whispered, tears welling up in my eyes. Emily let out a harsh laugh. Oh, please. No one cares about promises made to some half-witted old woman. I stood up so fast, my chair fell over. How dare you talk about Grandma like that? I shouted. That's enough, Dad roared. Isabella, you have a choice to make. The ring or your education. Decide. I looked at their faces, Dad's anger, Mom's disappointment, Emily's smug satisfaction. In that moment, I knew I had lost. Again. With shaking hands, I took off the necklace where I kept the key to my safety deposit box. I handed it to Emily. The morning after the ring incident, I cornered Emily in the kitchen. When exactly is your wedding? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Emily looked up from her coffee, a sly smile playing on her lips. It's on the 29th. Why, planning to ruin it? I ignored her jab. 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks to get away from this toxic environment. No, I replied coolly. I'm going to visit a friend from college. I'll be back in time for the wedding. I packed my bags and left that afternoon, heading to my friend Zoe's place in the next city over. For the first time in days, I felt like I could breathe. Zoe and I spent the week exploring art galleries, hitting up local cafes, and just enjoying each other's company. It was exactly what I needed. But my moment of peace was shattered exactly 1 week later. I was scrolling through my social media feed when I saw it, photos of Emily's wedding. My sister, resplendent in white, the diamond tiara glittering on her head, and my ring sparkling on her finger. The caption read, "Just married. Off to the Maldives with my hunky husband." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. With shaking hands, I dialed Mom's number. Why didn't you invite me to the wedding? Emily told me the wrong date. There was a long pause. Then Dad's voice came on the line. Isabella, your sister, she didn't want you there. She said you'd ruin her perfect day. We thought it was best not to tell you. I felt like I was going to be sick. How could you do this to me? I'm your daughter too. Don't be dramatic, Mom chimed in. It's not like you really wanted to be there anyway, right? I hung up, my whole body shaking with anger and hurt. A few days later, I returned home, only to find Emily had also returned from her honeymoon. I walked into the living room to find her, Mom, and Dad huddled together, looking at apartment listings. I cleared my throat, and they all looked up. Don't forget about my tuition, I said, my voice small. You promised to pay for my last year if I gave Emily the ring. Dad shifted uncomfortably. Actually, Isabella, we've decided to use that money as a down payment on Emily's apartment instead. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. But you promised. You swore to Grandma. Plans change, Mom said dismissively. Emily needs it more. I'm sure you can figure something out. Emily was still laughing, a cruel, mocking sound that made my blood boil. Before I knew what I was doing, I lunged at her, grabbing a fistful of her hair. Emily screeched, and suddenly everyone was shouting. Dad yanked me away, his face red with anger. That's enough, he roared. Isabella, get out of this house right now. I ran to my room, threw some clothes in a bag, and stormed out, slamming the front door behind me. As I walked away from the house, my heart pounding and my cheeks wet with tears, I realized something. I found myself back at Zoe's place, feeling lost and broken. For days, I barely left her guest room, alternating between crying and staring blankly at the walls. Zoe tried her best to comfort me, but I was inconsolable. A week passed in this haze of despair. Then, one morning, as I listlessly checked my emails, I saw a message that made my heart stop. Congratulations! You are the winner of the annual art school competition. Your prize includes a full scholarship for your final year of studies. I read the email 3 times, not believing my eyes. Then I let out a scream that brought Zoe running. I thrust my phone at her, happy tears streaming down my face. I won. I won a scholarship. I can finish school. Zoe's eyes widened as she read the email, then she pulled me into a bone-crushing hug. "Oh my God, Bella. This is amazing." For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. I could finish my degree without my parents' help. I could make my own way. When the new semester started, I threw myself into my studies with renewed vigor. Between my classes and my part-time job at the tattoo parlor, I barely had time to think about my family drama. Months passed, and I slowly started to heal. One day, I was hanging out with my classmate, Jake, who worked part-time at a local pawn shop. We were chatting about our day when he mentioned something that caught my attention. "You won't believe what happened during my shift today," he said. "This girl came in with the most beautiful diamond necklace and ring I've ever seen. Must have been worth a fortune." My heart skipped a beat. "What did she look like?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. Jake described a woman who sounded exactly like Emily. "Can you draw the jewelry for me?" I asked, my hands shaking slightly. Jake looked confused, but complied. As I watched him sketch, my suspicions were confirmed. The necklace was the one Emily had always bragged about, and the ring, it was my grandmother's ring. "Jake," I said, my mouth dry, "is there any way you could get me the security footage from the pawn shop?" Jake must have seen the desperation in my eyes because he finally nodded. "Okay, I'll see what I can do." A few days later, Jake handed me a USB drive. "Here," he said. "But you didn't get this from me, okay?" I nodded gratefully and rushed back to my dorm room. With trembling hands, I plugged in the drive and opened the video file. There was Emily, clear as day, handing over the jewelry. But what made my jaw drop was what happened next. As she turned to leave, a man entered the frame. Emily threw her arms around him, kissing him passionately. It wasn't Richard. I leaned closer to the screen, my heart pounding. As the man turned slightly, I gasped. I recognized him. It was Emily's ex-boyfriend, the one our parents had made her break up with because of his criminal connections. I sat back, my mind reeling. Emily had pawned her precious jewelry, including my grandmother's ring, and was apparently cheating on her husband with her criminal ex-boyfriend. Part of me wanted to immediately send this video to my parents, to Richard, to everyone who had ever believed Emily's lies. But another part of me hesitated. This was big. Too big to act on impulsively. Months passed, and I thought I'd put my family drama behind me. Then, out of the blue, my phone rang. It was my Aunt Lisa, my mom's sister. "Isabella, darling, I have wonderful news," she chirped, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Your sister is pregnant. Can you believe it? They're having a big announcement party next week. Isn't it exciting?" My heart sank. Of course, another family event I hadn't been invited to. "That's great, Aunt Lisa. Thanks for letting me know." After hanging up, I sat on my bed, conflicted. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to continue cutting ties with my toxic family. But another part of me, the part that still held on to the video from the pawn shop, knew this might be my chance. A week later, I found myself standing outside my parents' house. Cars lined the street, and I could hear laughter and chatter from inside. Taking a deep breath, I walked up to the front door and rang the bell. Mom opened the door, her smile instantly fading when she saw me. "Isabella, what are you doing here?" Pushing past her, I walked into the living room. The chatter died down as people noticed me. Emily, standing in the center of the room with Richard, looked like she'd seen a ghost. "What is she doing here?" Emily hissed. Dad's voice boomed through the room. "Isabella, get out of this house immediately. You're not welcome here." Confused murmurs rippled through the guests. I saw Richard's parents exchange worried glances. Mom, always one for saving face, plastered on a fake smile. "I'm so sorry, everyone. We've had to distance ourselves from Isabella. She's become quite greedy and unworthy of our family name." The room erupted into arguments. Some relatives defended me, while others sided with my parents. I raised my voice. "I have something to say." Gradually, the room quieted down. All eyes were on me. I turned to Emily. "Congratulations on your pregnancy, sis. But I have to ask, why aren't you wearing Grandma's tiara and ring?" Emily's face went pale. Her mother-in-law spoke up, "Now that you mention it, I haven't seen that beautiful ring in a while." "Emily, dear, where is it?" Emily stuttered, I sent them for restoration. They needed cleaning." I nodded slowly, pulling out my phone. "That's interesting. Because I have a video here that tells a different story." The color drained from Emily's face as I connected my phone to the TV. The security footage from the pawnshop began to play. There was Emily, clear as day, pawning the jewelry. And then, the moment that made everyone in the room gasp, Emily, throwing herself into the arms of a man who was definitely not Richard, kissing him passionately. The moment the video ended, chaos erupted in the living room. Richard's face contorted with rage and pain as he turned to Emily. "Emily, what is this? Who is that man?" he shouted, his voice cracking. Emily burst into tears, mascara streaming down her face. I can explain." Richard's mother stepped forward, her voice ice cold. "I think we all deserve an explanation, Emily." Richard's father, a stern-looking man, spoke up. "I think we need a paternity test." Immediately. As accusations flew and tempers flared, I quietly slipped out of the house. I had done what I came to do. The truth was out, and for the first time in years, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Over the next few weeks, the full extent of Emily's deception came to light. Through the family grapevine, I learned that she had been secretly meeting her ex-boyfriend, the one with criminal connections, behind Richard's back. She had been spending Richard's money on him and even pawned her jewelry to pay off his debts. The paternity test results were the final nail in the coffin. The baby wasn't Richard's, it was her ex-boyfriend's. Richard, understandably devastated, filed for divorce. He sued Emily for a substantial sum, citing emotional damages and financial fraud. Her ex-boyfriend, upon learning of the pregnancy, vanished without a trace, leaving Emily to face the consequences alone. My parents, who had always put Emily on a pedestal, were forced to face the harsh reality of her actions. They had to take out a significant loan to help Emily pay the compensation Richard demanded. Their golden child had fallen from grace, and they were left to pick up the pieces. In a twisted turn of events, they tried to blame me for everything. Mom left a voicemail on my phone, her voice bitter and accusing. "Are you happy now, Isabella? You've ruined your sister's life. I hope you're proud of yourself." I deleted the message without responding. Their words no longer had the power to hurt me. As for me, I returned to college, threw myself into my studies, and focused on building the life I wanted. I cut off all communication with my family, changing my phone number and email address. The toxic cycle was finally broken. It's been 2 years since that fateful day when I exposed Emily's lies. I graduated from art college with honors, my final project earning praise from both professors and local art critics. Now, at 23, I'm working at the Harmony Art Gallery in the city. It's a dream come true, surrounded by beautiful artwork every day, helping to curate exhibitions, and even organizing events for up-and-coming artists. But that's not all. I've been painting in my free time, and to my surprise and delight, my work has caught the eye of several collectors. I haven't forgotten my roots, though. I still create tattoo sketches in my spare time. It's become a cherished hobby, a link to the past that reminds me of how far I've come. Some of my designs have even been featured in tattoo magazines, which never fails to make me smile. As for my family, well, that's a complicated story. I've maintained relationships with a few aunts and cousins who stood by me during the fallout. They keep me updated on the family drama, though I try not to let it affect me anymore. From what I hear, Emily is still living with our parents. She's unemployed, struggling to raise her child alone. Mom and Dad, facing financial troubles of their own, are constantly pressuring her to find a job and move out. The arguments are frequent and bitter, I'm told. I haven't spoken to my parents or Emily since that day. They tried reaching out a few times in the beginning, guilt-tripping messages, angry voicemails, but I stood firm in my decision to cut ties. Eventually, they stopped trying. On a brighter note, I've been dating a wonderful guy named Alex for the past year. He's a graphic designer I met at a gallery event. He's kind, supportive, and best of all, he understands my passion for art. We're talking about moving in together soon, another step towards building the life I want.
Hey there, I'm Emily Parker, your friendly neighborhood software engineer from the Chicago suburbs. I'm lounging in my cozy apartment, sipping on coffee and aimlessly scrolling through my phone when it buzzes. It's my mom, Linda. Hey, sweetie, have you heard the big news? I roll my eyes. What news, Mom? Your brother Jason is engaged. Isn't it wonderful? I nearly spit out my coffee. Wait, what? Jason. Engaged? Yes, to that lovely girl, Megan, he's been seeing. Oh, Emily, we're so excited. Let me fill you in on Jason. At 25, he's still living the post-college life, minus the actual college part. Sure, he's got a marketing job, but his real talent is blowing money he doesn't have and charming his way out of the consequences. Naturally, I call my best friend Sophia. Soph, you are not going to believe this. Jason's engaged. No way. To that Instagram girl? Yep, Megan, the influencer herself. Oh boy, this should be interesting. How do you feel about it? I sigh. Honestly, I'm worried. Jason isn't exactly Mr. Responsible. Later that day, I'm at work, trying to focus when my coworker Michael notices me zooming out. Emily, you've been staring at that code for, 10 minutes. You good? I spill the beans about Jason's engagement. Michael listens and then shrugs. Maybe it'll be good for him, settling down and all. I chuckle. You clearly don't know Megan. Settling down isn't in her vocabulary, unless it's followed by a mansion. That evening, I head over to my parents' house. As I pull up in my reliable old sedan, bought with my own hard-earned cash, thank you very much, I spot Jason's pride and joy, Grandpa's vintage Mustang, gleaming in the driveway. That car is practically family. Inside, it's like a wedding planning frenzy. Mom, Dad, Jason, and Megan are flipping through bridal magazines like their lives depend on it. Emily, Mom beams, come look at these venues Megan picked out. I glance at the prices and nearly choke again. Wow, can you guys afford this? Jason waves me off. Don't worry, we've got it all figured out. Yeah, Megan chimes in, flashing her massive engagement ring. It's going to be the wedding of the century. I catch my dad's eye. Dad, don't you think this is a bit much? He just smiles. Now, Emily, it's a special day. We want it to be perfect for your brother. As I drive home, a knot forms in my stomach. This perfect wedding. It's going to lead to some very imperfect problems. The next week, I stop by my parents' place again, but something's wrong. Grandpa's Mustang is gone. I feel a rush of panic as I knock on the door. Hey, where's the Mustang? I ask as Jason sheepishly steps forward. Ah, about that. My heart sinks. You didn't. Emily, weddings are expensive. We needed the cash. It feels like a punch in the gut. You sold Grandpa's car for this ridiculous wedding. Jason crosses his arms defensively. It's not ridiculous, it's our dream. It's insane. That car was part of our family. Mom and Dad come rushing in, probably hearing my raised voice. What's going on? Dad asks. I turn to them, fuming. Did you know Jason sold the Mustang? Their faces give them away. They knew. Sweetie, Mom starts cautiously. We understand this is upsetting, but what? You're okay with this? Dad steps in. Emily, your brother is starting a new life. He needs our support. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Support? This isn't support, it's enabling. Jason scoffs. Oh, here we go. Say, Emily, always so perfect. At least I'm not afraid to take risks. The argument escalates until I storm out, slamming the door behind me. Later that week, I meet Sophia for coffee. They're unbelievable. I vent. It's like Jason can do no wrong. Sophia nods sympathetically. Have you talked to Michael about this? Not yet. Why? Well, he knows people. Maybe he's heard something. Curious. That night, I call Michael. Hey, weird question. Have you heard anything about Jason? There's a pause. Actually, yeah. And it's not good? My heart skips a beat. What do you mean? Word is, he's been borrowing money, but not from banks. My blood runs cold. What are you saying? There's this guy, Victor. Real nasty piece of work, a loan shark. I feel sick. Are you sure? Pretty sure, Emily. Be careful. This guy doesn't mess around. The next day, I confront Jason at his apartment. Who's Victor? Jason's face goes pale. How do you? It doesn't matter. What are you thinking? Just then, Megan waltzes in, all smiles. Hi, Emily. We were just discussing cake flavors. What do you think about lavender vanilla? I ignore her. Jason, this is serious. You're in over your head. Megan's tone shifts, snapping at me. Mind your own business, Emily. We've got everything under control. Really? Even Jason losing his job? Jason's eyes widen in shock. Megan turns to him, her smile vanishing. Wait, what? You lost your job? The facade crumbles. Jason breaks down, admitting everything. I leave feeling hollow. At home, I call Sophia again. It's a mess, Soph, and my parents are just enabling him. What are you going to do? I sigh. I don't know, but I can't keep watching this train wreck. Good, Sophia says. It's time you stood up for yourself, Em. As I hang up, I realize she's right. It's time to stop being the perfect daughter and start looking out for myself. The wedding is coming, and with it, a storm none of us are ready for. The big day finally arrived, and I found myself lost in a sea of tulle, glitter, and extravagance. Jason and Megan's wedding was every bit the over-the-top spectacle I'd expected. I leaned over to Sophia, my plus one. Can you believe this place? I whispered. It's like a unicorn threw up in here. Shh, your mom's coming, Sophia warned. Sure enough, Mom approached, beaming with pride. Isn't it beautiful, Emily? Your brother looks so happy. I forced a smile. Yeah, Mom, it's something. As I made my way to the bar, I'd overheard Megan chatting with her bridesmaids, and he didn't even hesitate. One mention of my dream wedding, and that old car was history. A week later, my phone buzzed at 7 a.m. It was Jason. Hey, sis, I've got a favor to ask. I sighed. What now, Jason? I've got some job interviews lined up, but well, with the Mustang gone. You need a ride? I finished for him, already exasperated. Just for a week, tops, please, Em. I get it's my better judgment, I agreed. But as the week went on, something didn't sit right. Jason's so-called interviews were at odd hours and in strange locations. On day 5, curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to follow him. To my shock, I watched as Jason picked up strangers, clearly doing ride shares in my car. That night, I confronted him outside our parents' house. Job interviews, huh? Funny, I didn't realize Uber was hiring. Jason's face fell. Emily, I can explain. Save it. You've been using my car for ride shares. Are you insane? I'm trying to make money here. You should be supporting me. Supporting you? You lied to me, Jason. Our argument drew Mom and Dad outside. What's going on? Dad demanded. Your precious son has been using my car for ride shares, lying about job interviews. I snapped. Mom looked stunned. Jason, is this true? Jason put on his best innocent face. I'm just trying to provide for Megan. You understand, right? To my disbelief, Mom and Dad softened. Well, Dad began. At least he's showing initiative. I couldn't believe my ears. Are you kidding me? He lied. He's putting my car at risk. Mom tried to soothe me. Now, Emily, family helps family. Jason's going through a rough patch. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. It was my boss. Hello? Yes, I'm on my way. What? No, I'll be there, I promise. I hung up, panic setting in. I've got to go. Big presentation today. I jumped in my car, praying I'd make it in time. But halfway there, the engine made a horrible noise and smoke poured from under the hood. No, no, no. I pulled over, helpless as I watched my career go up in smoke. Literally. Hours later, I sat in a mechanic's waiting room, my missed presentation looming large in my mind. Mom and Dad walked in, looking concerned. Oh, sweetie, Mom began gently. Jason told us what happened. Are you okay? I stared at them, incredulous. Am I okay? I just missed a career-defining presentation because Jason trashed my car. Dad frowned. Now, Emily, accidents happen. Jason feels terrible. I'm sure he does, I spat. And let me guess, you're here to ask me to forgive him? Mom looked hurt. We're family, Emily. We support each other through thick and thin. I stood up, shaking with anger. Support? Where's my support? When has anyone in this family ever supported me? As I stormed out, leaving my parents stunned, I knew something had to change, and it had to start with me. After that blow up at the mechanics, I knew I needed to do something drastic. I called Jason, trying to sound like the forgiving sister. Hey, I've been thinking, maybe I can help you get a job at my company. Really? You do that for me? Jason asked, sounding hopeful. Of course, what's family for? I cringed internally as I said it. The next day, I met Jason at a coffee shop near my office. So, where's this interview? He asked, looking around. Oh, it's not here. Follow me, I said, leading him to a sketchy part of town. We stopped in front of a rundown building. This doesn't look like your company. It's not, Jason. Meet Victor. A burly man stepped out of the shadows. Jason's face went white. What's going on? He stammered. I pulled out my phone, hitting record. Why don't you tell Victor about your business plans? Thinking he was impressing a potential investor, Jason began to brag. Oh man, I've got it all figured out. Insurance scams, identity theft, you name it. These suckers won't know what hit them. Victor's amusement quickly turned to anger. Suckers, huh? Like me? Jason realized his mistake too late. No, wait, I didn't mean. You owe me money, punk. I want it. I slipped away, leaving Jason to face the consequences of his actions. That night, I sent the recording to everyone who needed to hear it. The next morning, all hell broke loose. My phone exploded with messages. Emily, how could you? Mom sobbed. Is this true? Dad demanded. Megan's message was brief. It's over. I ignored them all and focused on packing my bags. Sophia and Michael helped me move to a new city where I immersed myself in work. Months passed and I got promoted, made new friends, and slowly started to feel like myself again. Then, out of the blue, Michael called with shocking news. Emily, you might want to sit down for this. Jason's been arrested, fraud charges. And your parents? They're not doing so hot. A twinge of guilt crept in, but I pushed it aside. Thanks for telling me, Michael. A week later, while sipping coffee at my favorite cafe, I heard familiar voices. I looked up to see Mom and Dad, looking older and more tired than I remembered. What are you doing here? I asked, my heart racing. Dad spoke first. We came to apologize. I'm listening. We were wrong, Emily. So wrong. We never should have enabled Jason like that. No, you shouldn't have, I interjected. Dad continued. We failed you, Emily. Can you ever forgive us? I took a deep breath. I don't hate you, but I can't pretend everything's okay. Mom's eyes filled with tears. We just want a chance to make things right. I need time and space, I said firmly. I hope you can respect that. As I walked away, I heard Dad call out. We're proud of you, Emily. We should have said that a long time ago. I didn't turn back, but I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. Whatever came next, I knew I could handle it. After all, I was Emily Parker, and I was done living in anyone's shadow. The story of Emily Parker and her family's turmoil had reached its conclusion. Now, I have a question for you. If you were in Emily's shoes, would you have exposed Jason's schemes, knowing it could tear your family apart? Or would you have chosen to keep the peace, even at your own expense? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hey there, I'm Lisa Martinez, the 28-year-old founder of Ugly Duckling Games. Right now, I'm hunched over my computer, putting the finishing touches on my latest game when my phone buzzes. It's Mom. Lisa, honey, don't forget about family dinner tonight. I groan. Do I have to? You know how Grandma Vera gets. Please, sweetie, for me. I sigh, knowing there's no way out of this one. Fine, I'll be there. As I get ready, memories flood back, mine as 10-year-old me, proudly showing Grandma Vera my first computer program. That's nice, dear, she had said, barely glancing at it. But wouldn't you rather play with makeup? Maybe it would help, you know. I shake off the memory and head to my parents' house. The moment I walk in, I hear Vera's voice. Oh, Lisa, still dressing like a teenage boy, I see. I force a smile. Nice to see you too, Grandma. My phone buzzes again. It's Zoe, my best friend and lead artist. How's it going? Need an escape plan? I'm about to respond when my cousin Bella bounces in, all perfect hair and Instagram-ready smile. Lissa, OMG, I love your shirt. Before I can reply, Vera chimes in. Bella, darling, you look stunning, as always. You should give Lissa some tips. I clench my fists, but my boyfriend Derek squeezes my hand. You've got this, he whispers. Dinner is a minefield of backhanded compliments and thinly veiled jabs. So Lissa, Vera starts, still playing with your little computer games. I take a deep breath. Actually, Grandma, my little game just hit 1 million downloads. My dad perks up. That's fantastic, sweetie. But Vera waves it off. Yes, but Bella here just hit 2 million followers on Instagram. Now, that's success. I push my food around my plate, feeling like that awkward kid again. But then I remember something. I'm not that kid anymore. I'm the founder of Ugly Duckling Games. I've created worlds, told stories, and touched lives. You know what, Grandma? I say, standing up. I'm proud of my little games. They might not make me look perfect in photos, but they make me happy, and isn't that what really matters? The table falls silent. Vera looks shocked, my parents exchange glances, and Bella. Wait, is she smiling at me? As I drive home that night, I feel different, stronger. For the first time, I stood up to Vera. It might not change everything, but it's a start. Months flew by, and Ugly Duckling Games was soaring. Our latest game, Pixel Perfect, was blowing up. I was in the middle of a team meeting when my phone buzzed again. It was Mom. Lissa, it's your grandfather. He's in the hospital. I rushed over, laptop and towel. The whole family was there, including Vera, who looked more haggard than I'd ever seen her. Lissa, she sniffed, couldn't you have dressed up a bit? This is a hospital, not a party. I bit my tongue and focused on Grandpa. Days passed, and I split my time between hospital visits and remote work. One evening, I overheard Vera and Bella whispering in the cafeteria. But Grandma, are you sure about this full facelift? It's so expensive, Bella was saying. I have to, darling. I'm losing followers by the day. These wrinkles are killing my brand. I rolled my eyes and was about to leave when Vera spotted me. Lissa, perfect timing. I need to talk to you about a business proposition. My stomach dropped. What kind of proposition? Vera smiled sweetly. Well, dear, I know your little game company is doing well, and family helps family, right? I was hoping you could fund my procedures. Think of it as an investment in the family image. I stared at her, speechless. Was she serious? Grandma, I can't just. That's not how business works. And it's not a little company, it's my livelihood. Vera's smile turned cold. Oh, please, as if playing games is a real job. I'm talking about real issues here. My appearance affects the whole family. Something in me snapped. Real issues. Like how you've torn down my self-esteem since I was a kid? How you've always favored Bella and made me feel worthless. Vera gasped dramatically. How dare you? After all I've done for this family? Our shouting match drew attention. My parents rushed over. What's going on here? Dad demanded. Vera turned on the waterworks. Your daughter is being terribly selfish. All I asked was a small favor. Mom tried to placate everyone. Now, I'm sure we can work this out. Lissa, maybe you could spare a little. I couldn't believe it. Are you kidding me? You're taking her side again? To my shock, Bella spoke up. Actually, I think Lissa's right, Grandma. This is too much to ask. Vera rounded on Bella. You ungrateful child. Do you know how much I've invested in your career? As the argument escalated, I slipped away, feeling drained. I found a quiet corner and called Zoe. Zoe, you won't believe what just happened. I spilled everything. Zoe listened, then said, Elle, you've got to stand up to her, once and for all. This is toxic as hell. Derek, who had just arrived at the hospital, found me and echoed Zoe's sentiments. Bae, you're not that scared kid anymore. You're a successful businesswoman. Don't let her push you around. I nodded, feeling a mix of anger and determination. You're right, this ends now. As I hung up, I saw Vera approaching, fake tears still in place. But this time, I was ready for her. Lissa, dear, about our little misunderstanding. I held up a hand. Save it, Grandma. I'm done playing your games. And trust me, I know games. The look on her face was priceless. For once, Vera was speechless. As I walked away, I felt lighter. But I knew this wasn't over. Vera wouldn't give up easily. And honestly, neither would I. Game on, Grandma. After our hospital showdown, I decided to play Vera at her own game. I called her, forcing sweetness into my voice. Grandma, I've been thinking about your requests. Maybe we can work something out. Vera's tone instantly changed. Oh, Lissa, I knew you'd come around. You're such a good girl. As I hung up the phone, Zoe raised an eyebrow. What are you up to? I grinned. Let's just say Grandma's about to star in her own game. Over the next few weeks, I dug into Vera's past, and what I uncovered was shocking. Years of manipulating family members, including draining Bella's social media earnings for her own investments. I called Bella. Hey, cuss. Quick question. Have you ever actually seen the profits from your sponsored posts? Her hesitation spoke volumes. Well, Grandma handles all that. She says it's for tax purposes. Bingo. At the studio, we were in crunch mode for our new game True Colors, but now I had a secret mission. Guys, we're adding a new character, the Narcissist Queen. And wait till you see her special moves. As we prepped for the launch party, I kept Vera sweet, even suggesting we host it at our favorite country club. Oh, you dear girl, she gushed. I knew you'd see things my way eventually. But behind the scenes, I was gathering receipts, bank statements, emails, even recorded conversations. Vera had been busy and not in a good way. The night before the launch, disaster struck, a massive bug in the final boss fight, the Narcissist Queen battle. Lissa, we can't fix this in time. Our lead coder panicked. I looked at the clock. 2 a.m. The launch was in 16 hours. We have to. Failure is not an option. We coded through the night, fueled by energy drinks and sheer determination. As the sun rose, we finally squashed the bug. Exhausted, I stumbled home for a quick shower, only to find 7 missed calls from Vera. Lissa, I've decided I want to speak at your little party. Prepare a proper introduction for me. Oh, and I'll need hair and makeup. Send a car, won't you? I gritted my teeth. Sure, Grandma. Anything else? Well, now that you mention it. By the time I got to the venue, I was running on fumes. Dope crept in. Was I taking this too far? Zoe found me hiding in the bathroom. Cold feet, she asked. I sighed. Maybe. This is too much. She's still family, you know. Zoe grabbed my shoulders. Elle, remember all those nights you cried because of her? How she made you feel worthless. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about Bella, your parents, everyone she's manipulated. Derek poked his head into the bathroom. Ladies' room, but Zoe's right, babe. Vera needs to face the music. I took a deep breath. You're right, both of you. Let's do this. The launch party for True Colors was in full swing. Industry bigwigs, family, and Vera's high society friends mingled, sipping champagne and eyeing the game demos scattered around the room. I took the stage, my heart pounding. Welcome, everyone. True Colors isn't just a game, it's a journey through the maze of toxic relationships. As I guided the crowd through each level, Vera's face grew increasingly pale. The Narcissist Queen's tactics were eerily familiar to anyone who knew her. In this level, I explained, the player must navigate the Queen's gaslighting maze. Each turn reveals a hidden truth. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Vera shifted uncomfortably in her seat. I continued, my voice growing stronger. Gaming taught me that every boss has a weakness, even the ones in real life. The room fell silent as I locked eyes with Vera. For years I was told I was the ugly duckling, the failure. But today, I'm standing here, successful, while someone else's true colors are showing. Suddenly, the screens lit up with Vera's incriminating emails and bank statements. Gasps echoed through the room. Bella stood up, tears in her eyes. Grandma, is this true? You've been stealing my earnings. Vera sputtered. Bella, darling, it's not what it looks like. Save it, Bella snapped. I trusted you. Vera's eyes darted around the room, searching for allies, but found none. Desperate, she lashed out. You ungrateful brats. After everything I've done for this family. Her outbursts only served to reveal more of her cruelty. One by one, family members and friends turned away from her. My parents approached me, their faces filled with shame. Lissa, we're so sorry. We should have protected you. I nodded, tears pricking my eyes. It's a start. In the weeks that followed, True Colors became a smash hit, praised for its raw portrayal of emotional abuse. Ugly Duckling Games shifted focus, creating games that promoted self-acceptance and anti-bullying messages. Bella reached out, wanting to collaborate on a project to help young influencers protect themselves from exploitation. As for Vera, last I heard, she'd been cut off from her social circles, her carefully crafted image in tatters. Sitting in my office, looking at the True Colors poster on the wall, I couldn't help but smile. The ugly duckling had grown up, faced her demons, and emerged victorious. A notification popped up on my phone, another glowing review for our latest game, Rise of the Underdog. I leaned back in my chair, reflecting on the journey from a little girl crushed by cruel words to a woman strong enough to stand up to her abuser. It hadn't been easy, but it was worth it. The intercom buzzed. "Boss, the team's waiting for the meeting." "On my way," I replied, standing up. As I walked to the conference room, I passed a mirror. For the first time in forever, I didn't see an ugly duckling. I saw a swan, strong and beautiful in her own unique way. Game over, Vera. This ugly duckling just won. And that's a wrap on Lissa's journey, from belittled granddaughter to triumphant game developer. Now, we want to hear from you. Was Lissa justified in publicly exposing Vera's manipulation and abuse, or did she go too far by humiliating her grandmother at the game launch? Where's the line between justice and revenge when it comes to family toxicity? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hey, I'm Harper minus 25 years old, a marketing exec in New York City. But let me take you back to where it all started in good old suburban America. Growing up, I was the classic firstborn, eager to please, full of dreams. Then Jake came along, my little brother. At first, I was excited to be a big sis. But man, did things change. Jake wasn't your typical toddler. His tantrums were legendary, full-on meltdowns over the smallest things. "Sarah, can you keep it down? Jake's trying to sleep," Mom would say, even when I was quietly doing homework. "But Mom, I have a big test tomorrow." "Please, Sarah, you know how he gets when he's tired." It was always about Jake, his knees, his moods, his everything. Don't get me wrong, I loved him, but it felt like I was fading into the background of my own life. My saving grace. Grandma Thompson, she was a saint. Every birthday, she'd call without fail. "Happy birthday, my little star," she'd say, her voice warm over the phone. "Thanks, Grandma," I'd reply, grateful that someone remembered. "Oh, sweetie, your parents love you. They're just preoccupied." Preoccupied. That's one way to put it. Try telling that to 16-year-old me, sitting alone on my sweet 16 while my parents were out handling another one of Jake's cool incidents. "We'll celebrate this weekend, honey," Dad promised when they finally got home. Spoiler alert, we didn't. But it wasn't all bad. I threw myself into school, determined to be noticed. Fast forward to high school graduation. I'm valedictorian, standing at the podium, scanning the crowd for my family. Mom and Dad were there, but distracted as always, trying to keep Jake from causing a scene. "Congratulations, Sarah," Mom said afterward, but her eyes were on Jake, who was tugging at her sleeve. "Thanks, Mom. Did you hear my speech?" "Oh, of course, sweetie. It was nice. Nice. That's all I got." That summer was a blur of college prep and more Jake drama. By the time August rolled around, I was counting down the days until I could leave for college. The day finally came, car packed, goodbyes said. As I hugged Grandma, she slipped something into my hand, a small box. "Open it when you get there," she whispered. "And remember, you're destined for great things, Sarah." Driving away, watching my house disappear in the rearview mirror, I felt a mix of excitement and relief. College was my chance to start fresh, to finally be seen for who I was. Little did I know, that was just the beginning of my journey to find my voice. But that's a story for another day. For now, I was just a girl with a car full of dreams, heading toward a new chapter. Life in New York City? A whole different ball game. I hustled my way up to marketing executive, and for the first time, I felt like I was truly being seen. My phone buzzed. It was Michael, my boyfriend. "Hey babe, we still on for dinner tonight?" "You bet. Can't wait to tell you about this campaign I just landed." "That's my girl, always killing it." I smiled. Michael understood me in a way my family never did. Speaking of family, I've been dodging their calls lately. Out of sight, out of mind, right? Wrong. My phone lit up again. Mom's number. "Sarah, it's about Grandma." My heart sank. What happened? "She passed away last night. The funeral's this weekend." It felt like someone had punched me in the gut. Grandma was gone. The one person who always remembered me. "I'll be there," I managed to say. The trip back home felt like stepping into a time warp. Same old house, same old drama. Sarah, you're here. Mom rushed to hug me. Hey, Mom, I replied, hugging her back, feeling strangely out of place. Dad appeared, looking older than I remembered. Good to see you, kiddo. Jake lurked in the background, barely acknowledging me. The funeral was a blur of tears and whispered condolences, but it was the reading of the will that truly shattered everything. To my beloved granddaughter Sarah, the lawyer read, I leave my beach house and a sum of $500,000. You could have heard a pin drop. Then all hell broke loose. What? That's not fair. Jake exploded. Mom looked shocked. Surely there's been some mistake. No mistake, the lawyer confirmed. Mrs. Thompson was very clear about her wishes. I sat there stunned. Grandma had left me everything. Jake turned on me, furious. You were always her favorite. I bet you manipulated her into this. Excuse me? I shot back. I didn't even know about this. Dad tried to calm things down. Now, kids, let's not fight. Sarah, you'll share with your brother, right? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Share? Are you kidding me? Mom chimed in. Sarah, be reasonable. Jake needs this money more than you do. That was the last straw. Years of pent-up frustration came flooding out. Reasonable? When have any of you ever been reasonable with me? My whole life has been about Jake. My birthdays, my achievements, everything ignored because Jake needed attention. That's not true. Mom protested weakly. Isn't it? Where were you on my Sweet 16? Or when I gave my valedictorian speech? Always dealing with Jake's latest crisis. Jake sneered. Oh, poor Sarah, always the victim. I rounded on him. You don't get to talk. You've had everything handed to you on a silver platter. I worked my ass off, I snapped. Sarah, language. Mom gasped. No, Mom, I'm done sugarcoating things. Grandma left me this inheritance because she saw me. She was the only one who ever did. Dad tried to intervene. Now, Sarah, we love you both equally. Save it, Dad. Your actions have always spoken louder than words. And they've been crystal clear. I stood up, shaking with a mix of anger and adrenaline. I'm not sharing the inheritance. It's mine, fair and square. And frankly, it's the least I deserve after years of being treated like I didn't matter. The room erupted into chaos. Jake was yelling, Mom was crying, and Dad was trying to calm everyone down. But for once I didn't care. I walked out, head held high. As I drove back to the city, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in my life, I had stood up for myself against my family. It hurt, yeah, but it also felt dang good. I dialed Michael's number. Hey, you free to talk? You won't believe what just went down. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of the storm. But for now, I was breaking free, and it felt amazing. Back in New York, I threw myself into renovating Grandma's beach house. It became my sanctuary, a place where I felt her love surrounding me. But my family had other plans. My phone buzzed with yet another text from Mom. Sarah, honey, we miss you. Can't we talk about this? I ignored it, just like the dozen before. Then came one from Jake. Way to abandon your family, sis. Real classy. Frustrated, I tossed my phone aside. Couldn't they just let me be? Later that week, I met up with Lena, my best friend, and Michael for drinks. They won't stop messaging me, I vented. It's like they can't accept that I don't want to share the inheritance. Lena raised an eyebrow. Share? Girl, that's your money. Your grandma left it to you for a reason. Michael nodded in agreement. Sarah, have you ever considered that what they're doing might be emotional abuse? I scoffed. Abuse? That's a bit strong, isn't it? Is it? Lena challenged. They've been dismissing your feelings and needs for years. That's not normal, Sarah. Her words hit me hard. Could it really be abuse? I couldn't shake the thought. Maybe I should talk to someone about this, I admitted. And that's how I found myself in Dr. Patel's office the following week. Tell me about your childhood, Sarah, she prompted. As I talked, memories came flooding back. Like the time I won the science fair, but my parents missed it because Jake had a meltdown at school. They didn't even congratulate me later. The hurt felt fresh, as if it had just happened. Dr. Petal listened intently. Sarah, have you ever considered that Jake's behavior might not always have been uncontrollable? I frowned. What do you mean? Sometimes children learn that certain behaviors get them attention. It's possible Jake's tantrums were, at times, a form of manipulation. It was like a light bulb went off. All those times Jake's tantrums seemed to happen at the most inconvenient moments. Had he been playing us all along? Over the next few weeks, therapy helped me see my family dynamics in a new light. I felt stronger, more sure of myself. Then came the bombshell, a voicemail from Dad. "Sarah, we need to talk. We're having some financial troubles. Jake's in a bit of a mess. We're coming to New York next week. We really need to sort this out, as a family." I sat there, phone in hand, as a mix of dread and determination washed over me. They were coming here, to my turf. This time, I'd be ready for them. The week before my family's arrival, I prepped with Dr. Patel and my friends, setting clear boundaries and strategies for dealing with potential manipulation. When they showed up at my apartment, the tension was palpable. "Sarah, sweetie, you look well," Mom said, hugging me stiffly. Dad nodded awkwardly. "Nice place you've got here." Jake just grunted, not meeting my eyes. I'd arranged for us to have dinner at a nearby restaurant, thinking a public setting might keep things civil. I was wrong. "So Sarah," Dad began, "about the inheritance." I cut him off. "I'm not sharing it, Dad. That's not up for discussion." Mom's face fell. "But Sarah, we're family. We should support each other." "Support? Like you supported me all those years?" I countered. Jake slammed his fist on the table. "Oh, here we go again with the pity party." People at nearby tables turned to stare. I took a deep breath, remembering Dr. Patel's advice. "Jake, that behavior might have worked when we were kids, but it won't work now." Mom looked shocked. "Sarah, how can you be so cold? Your brother needs help." "What kind of help?" I asked, sensing there was more to the story. Dad sighed heavily. "Jake's in some gambling debt. We were hoping you could help out." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You want me to use Grandma's money to bail Jake out of his gambling addiction?" "It's not an addiction," Jake protested. "I just hit a rough patch." "No," I said firmly. "I won't enable this behavior anymore." That's when Jake lost it. "You selfish. If you don't share, we'll contest the will. We've already talked to a lawyer." The restaurant fell silent. In that moment, I saw my family for who they really were. "Get out," I said quietly. "All of you, we're done here." As they left, hurling insults and threats, I felt a strange sense of calm. It was over. I was free. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into work and the beach house renovation. Michael, being a lawyer, helped me secure my inheritance legally, and Lena, along with my other friends, rallied around me. They showed me what real support looked like. On my next birthday, surrounded by my chosen family at the newly renovated beach house, I felt truly happy for the first time in years. "Make a wish, Sarah," Lena called as I blew out my candles. I didn't wish for reconciliation with my toxic family. Instead, I wished for continued strength and growth in my new life. Later, I heard through the grapevine that Jake's debts had caught up with him, leading to legal troubles. My parents, stuck in their enabling ways, found themselves socially isolated and financially strained. The story of Sarah's journey to break free from her toxic family has come to an end. Now, I want to hear from you. Is it ever justified to cut ties with family members, even if they're blood relatives? Or should we always try to maintain family connections, no matter how difficult? Share your thoughts in the comments below.